Hey there! I'm Celia, a French freelance illustrator and full-time designer, and today I'll give you some tips if you want to use Posca markers. The first advice that I could give you is to test your paper before using Posca for an entire artwork. The Posca are not made for all papers, especially not the textured one. Sometimes they are creating some unwanted texture like dust and peels, which is really not good for your pen or your illustration. To avoid that, you should test your Posca on a small section of paper before starting a new artwork. Posca are working really well on smooth papers and surfaces. They are compatible with a lot of materials like plastic or wood, but they can be really capricious with paper. The second advice is to use different sizes of markers which are adapted to what you want to do. When you will start to outline your illustration or to fill an area, if you're using only one size of marker, you won't be able to do what you want. For example, the large tips are not meant to do some tiny details, so you would probably get frustrated if you're trying to do an entire artwork with large tips only. I'm using 3 different sizes of markers. The PC1M is the one that I use for the outline and for the tiny details. The PC3M is a medium size which is good for small artworks and small areas. And the PC5M is the largest size that I use. It allows me to fill some large areas quite quickly and getting a nice flat color. This is the 3 sizes which are adapted to my type of artworks. It might not work for you. Usually my illustration size are around A5 or A6, sometimes less, so I'm not using Posca on really large artworks. Then you probably noticed, or you will notice soon, that Posca markers are expensive. So my next advice is to use a restricted color palette. You don't need an entire set of Posca markers to start with. Instead, choose 3 colors that you love and start creating some artworks with this limited color palette. It will be a way more accessible investment for you, and you can use the constraint of limited color palette to explore a new art style. When you are using Posca for your artworks, try to apply the light colors first and then use the darker ones. Posca are acrylic markers, so it's quite easy to pile up the colors, but if you're using the bright light colors or dark colors, they will be less vibrant. So if you want to keep the vibrancy of your colors, try to apply them directly on paper and to go from light colors to the dark ones. Of course, you can use light colors like white or yellow to highlight some details of your artworks, but you will probably have to do several layers so that you can see the color underneath. And my final advice is to use masking tape. If you're already using some paint, you may be familiar with using masking tape for your paintings. You can also use masking tape for your Posca illustrations. It's giving a clean finish to your artworks, and it's really easy to use masking tape with Posca markers. The acrylic inside the Posca are quite thick, so it won't diffuse under the masking tape. And it's so satisfying to remove the tape once you're finished. That's all for today. I hope that these advices were interesting for you. Don't hesitate to add your own tips in comments. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!